Hello, my name is Tara, and welcome to Tara's Mental Calibration. And before I get started, I'm going to go ahead and do my disclaimers. I am not a professional therapist by any means, and I am currently in trauma therapy myself. And trigger warning is I may talk about some things you don't want to talk about. I may talk about some things that you don't want to see within yourself or within other people. Please use your own discernment and your own comfort levels to determine whether you should continue listening to the podcast. All right, so what we are going to talk about today, or what I am going to talk about today, is sacrifice. And I am a CPTSD survivor. Um, if you do not know what CPTSD is, it is complex post-traumatic stress disorder. There is a lot of things on YouTube and Google to educate yourself about it. And it's the difference between CPTSD and PTSD is isolated to one episode of something traumatic, where CPTSD is back-to-back traumatic experiences without a break. And they are both just as bad. Any kind of PTSD is awful. They're just different. So today I wanted to talk about sacrifice because let me go ahead and tell you how my day went. I had a list. I went back to school. I have been busy doing schoolwork, trying to get a grounding for how to schedule everything. And I haven't had time to do anything, like, even for myself. I've been trying to take breaks. I've been trying to handle things that I need to handle. With that being said, I told myself that since I had today off, I'm recording this on Saturday and it's posting on Sundays, but I set Saturday to the side to kind of enjoy myself a little bit. And I've noticed that for the past 2 Saturdays, instead of enjoying myself, I do everything I feel I need to do in order to do my part in the house. All the laundry, hanging it up, changing the bedclothes, making sure the kitchen is clean, cooking dinner tonight, and shoving it all into one day. And I push my stuff to the back. I push my stuff to the side. I made it a point to stop on purpose so I could go and create some little angel key rings because I like to create things. I like to work with beads. I like to work with wire. And it was something short, something, little for me to do. But it was the point that I stopped on purpose to do it. And I started thinking about why I started shoving everything for the week into this morning. Was the laundry awful? No. I have a husband. He actually does a lot of the work during the week when I don't. And that is what drove me to make sure that I handled my part today. And it wasn't because I wanted to take a load off from him, which that would have been great if that was the reason. But I actually did it because I had to make sure that he saw the value in me and allowing me to stick around. The funny thing about that is that he's not even close to getting rid of me because I didn't do the laundry this week or because I didn't, you know, uh, clean up the kitchen. that is in my own mind because of the traumatic experiences I've had in my life when I was a child. So I wasn't if I was not of use, then I was discarded as a child. So I always made sure that I was in people pleasing mode. I always made sure that I sacrificed my own needs and put others before me. And for a long time, I allowed myself to believe that I was just a nice person. I'm doing this because I love you. I'm doing this because I like you. I'm doing this because, no, it's none of that. I'm doing this because I want to make sure that you see the value in keeping me. And that has everything to do with my fear of abandonment. And it's really difficult for me to even say this. It's difficult for me to even talk about it because there are times I genuinely want to do something. Like if I see my husband tired or I see that he had a hard day, I see that he's going through his own thing. I do want to make things easier for him. I do want to make things lighter for him. Uh, when I see that he's going through something, and he does the same thing with me, but when he does it with me, I feel like it's more of me being a burden than him giving genuine love and caring and um, concern. So it's something that I am working through. So like for today, I did my gardening. I didn't even do that for me. Um, my husband made breakfast. I cleaned up the kitchen, which was cool. I made sure I went upstairs, handled, the cat's room, and I watered my plants. But the whole time I'm sitting there thinking about how I wanted to post my used tarot cards on my Etsy shop. I enjoy doing that. And I still haven't done it yet. I was thinking about my podcast. What am I going to talk about today? And, I love doing my podcast. And I pushed it to the back. Instead, I made sure I cleaned up the kitchen. I did the laundry. The laundry is entirely done and hung up. And, I made sure I changed the bed out and washed the sheets, did the blankets. And I was thinking about the other part of the list of the bathroom, the living room. Angels agree. And, what else I needed to do. But when am I going to stop and do what I want to do? Like, when am I going to stop and say, it's okay for me to create something? It's okay for me to do my podcast. It's okay to not, like, the whole list that I had for today. I did everything but my list. That was for me. And here's the funny part, right? So even though I did everything that I did today, since none of those things were on the list of what I wanted to do, later on, if I didn't catch it, I would have looked at it like I was lazy today because I did not do what I said I was going to do. Like if I said I was going to do the floors, which I do want to do the floors, but if I said I was going to do the floors today, but I was busy doing everything else that I was doing, I'm not going to look at everything else that I was doing. I'm going to look at the fact that I didn't do the floors. And then I'm going to feel lazy. Then I'm going to feel like I didn't accomplish anything. Then I'm going to feel like, I'm worthless. And then it goes down through a whole spiral of how can I be loved? How is it that I deserve love because I did not do these floors like I said I was going to do? I didn't keep my word. I lied. And it goes into a whole self-punishment thing to where I end up punishing myself way more than another person would. And I think that that also is a that is also something that I'm working on, of not punishing myself. I think that's a defense mechanism. If I punish myself more harder than what you would punish me for, or than another person would punish me for, then that means that whatever punishment you give me is not going to hurt as bad. It's almost like that whole thing I was talking about a couple of podcasts back, when I said that I would rather call myself out on my own crap than have you call me out on it. Because if you call me out on it, I'm going to feel worse than if I call myself out on it. There is a difference. So when I was reading about, like right before I did this podcast, I'm like, is this really a thing, that people with CPTSD do? And it absolutely is when it comes to sacrifice. So it says on here that sacrifice is often a survival strategy rather than a genuine choice. So it's really more about surviving and feeling like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing instead of doing it out of the goodness of your heart. And see, that's another thing that goes into, you know, um, when you're an overgiver, when you are a people pleaser, there are times when, you can be like, you're supposed to. Now, this is what I've been told a whole lot. I think it's crap for that. I think this is a bunch of BS, but I have been told a lot that I should not do anything if I'm expecting something back in return. And I do think that that applies to some things, like charity work, or when somebody can't give it back to you. Um, and you make a conscious choice to do something knowing you're not going to get something back. But when you're a sacrificer and you're a or an habitual sacrificer, then the people who tell you that you should be doing things out of the goodness of your heart are the people who want to continue to drain you. It's not people who are trying to put anything back in. It's people who want you to, quote unquote, do something from the goodness of your heart. You shouldn't be asking me back for anything. Yeah, but how many times do you give to them and they don't give you anything back? There is a fine line between, you know, being selfish and saying you have to give me back exactly what I give you, which you should be doing that anyway, unless there is an agreement in place where you know from the jump that you're doing this out of the goodness of your heart. So, you know, it says on here, trauma survivors frequently sacrifice their own identity, boundaries, and needs to appease abusers or keep the peace. A deeply ingrained trauma response, commonly known as fawning. So, you know, when it comes to the fawn response, instead of it being like a fight or flight or freezing, the fawn response is an attempt to achieve like safety or a sense of peace by anticipating and meeting the demands of an abuser or meeting the expectations of an abuser. Your nervous system learns that the safest way to survive is to abandon your own needs. So when you want love or when you want affection or when you want attention, or if you know that somebody is angry with you and you go into hyperdrive of, in a sense, it's love bombing. But you're not doing it to truly manipulate another person. You're doing it so that way you can give yourself a peaceful environment. And I know that I talked about this before a little bit, where I have been there for people, and I just literally figured this out this year, um, while I was in therapy, that I never truly helped people to be helping them. I help them so I can have a peaceful environment. If they are in a happy mood, then that means that I am not going to be abused. So I would work hard on making them happy. I would work hard on, doing things for them to make sure they felt peace. Because if they felt peace, that means that I felt peace. So survivors are often highly attuned to the moods and discomfort of others. Sacrificing my own energy or my boundaries to manage somebody else's emotions was very common. So it is definitely a deep-rooted fear of abandonment or a fear of conflict. You know, on the surface, people look at me and they think, oh my gosh, she's so outspoken. I'm so not. I am absolutely shy, and I really don't talk to people. Like I can be mistaken for being snobbish. I'm definitely not snobbish, but if I don't know about your energy, I'm not going to participate in playing it. So it can come off to some people like, I'm snobbish, but once they get to know me, they know that I'm really not snobbish at all. It's just that I tend to not really talk unless I'm comfortable. So going on to the loss of identity part, and enduring long-term trauma can cause a child's identity to center around what keeps them safe, leading to deep feelings of shame, inadequacy, and a belief that you do not deserve to have your own needs met. I don't know how many times when I was a child that it was you're going to be all right. Everything always centered around other people, and if I needed something, I was made to feel that I was the problem or that I was the burden. And how dare I for needing somebody? How dare I for wanting or needing love and care? And so over time, I do realize that against certain people, resentment has been uh, rearing its ugly head. Like sometimes I'll, even sometimes with my husband in my own relationship, because I am so, I, I encourage him to look out for himself. I encourage him to have self-care moments and self-care days. And then when he carries them out, I will get a resentment towards him. Like I will feel a resentment towards him because I didn't take the time to do that for myself. Is that a problem of his? Absolutely not. Is that a something he should fix? Is that something he's doing wrong? No. But I'm realizing this within myself, and I'm looking at myself, and this is where I can be toxic in the relationship, where this could literally be an argument later, or me throwing it up to his face later and being like, that day I was, working my butt off, and there you were relaxing. And even if it was something that I told him to do, or even if it was something that I encouraged him to do. So having that self-accountability to look at myself and not just look at my abusers. My abusers suck. Please do not think for a second that I don't think that my abusers suck. But considering the fact that my abusers are not living in my life anymore, I have to be accountable for where I am now. I have to be accountable for who I want to be now. I have to be accountable for who I want to be tomorrow. What is it that I want to build? How is it that I want to be? How do I want to see things in life? Where do I want it to go? It hasn't always been a place where I could do this, but now I have the freedom to do it. And it's been rather difficult. And for those of you who are not in a space where you have the freedom to express yourself or to, you know, explore more of who you are, If you're in a toxic relationship, just know that every little step of you getting out helps. Determination and self-discipline, definitely. I know that one of my abusive relationships, it took me 3 years to get out. It took me 3 years, almost 4. And I know it's hard. But just know there are people who are willing to help, and it's a process. So if you're going through that kind of process, or you're about to go through that kind of process, do not be too hard on yourself if you go back and forth. Do not be too hard on yourself if you feel like you lose sight of the goal, or if you have hope and you backslide. Try to have grace with yourself, because the main goal is for you to exercise the muscles that you need to exercise in order to get away from it. And how can you exercise those muscles if you don't know what the problems are that you need to exercise and get out of? Mistakes are meant to happen on purpose, so that way you know what it is that you need to work on. You can't know that if mistakes don't happen. It's the point of what you do about it when you do have a backslide. So, you know, sacrificing yourself too much can lead to burnout. And I mean severe burnout. And it can lead to the resentment, like what I was talking about. And it gets to the point where you find yourself doing everything for others and, feeling undervalued, especially when the efforts are not reciprocated. So you can also end up being one of those people who isolate and saying, you know what, I'm not going to deal with anyone, not even the good people, because you just don't want to, because you find everybody draining, you know? So you could also find yourself withdrawing from relationships or people, even people who don't deserve it, even people who could be giving you something good. You're not even giving them a chance because you're too exhausted, you know? So I know that what I have been working on a lot in therapy is setting firm boundaries, and using the word no is extremely powerful. It's a complete sentence. And if you do decide to do something, like really think it through. Am I okay with doing this? Do I really want to do it? Am I going to feel resentful after I do it? And am I allowed to talk about how I feel about it without making another person feel uncomfortable with it? You know, recognizing that you're safe and it's okay for you to prioritize yourself and your own well-being. And that has been huge when it comes to my healing. That has been a very critical key right there when it comes to my own personal healing. And also, just like I was saying before, practicing self-compassion, you know, um, challenging the deeply held beliefs of worthlessness and shame. And also reminding myself that I have the right, I have the right to my own opinions, my own emotions, and my own personal goals that I want to do for myself. And that's okay. That's okay. That's really difficult for me. It's one thing at a time, one step at a time. So I'm going to go ahead and close out today's podcast. If you have anything to say about this topic or any other topics, please feel free to email me at Tara's calibration. I always mess up my email. Tara's mental calibration at gmail.com. That is all one word, no spaces, no underscores, no dots, nothing. No punctuation marks, nothing. It is Tara's Mental Calibration at gmail.com. The title, no spaces, all together.com. So I am sending you a bunch of love, light, protection, healing, anything that is positive, all the positive stuff. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.